Today marks a new turning point as I'm going to start doing indie FPS titles on this channel. Don't worry, Call of Duty clients and mods won't be going anywhere going forwards. I did a 2-hour-long interview with Project Echo developers, and it sounds like a very ambitious game. I hope you guys loved the interview, and please make sure to follow their socials and join their Discord server in the links below.
So Echo is kind of like the first half of the whole name, and we'll get to the full release of the name, at some point. But the whole goal with this game is we kind of came together. Let's just get into the first slide. Actually,
no, I mean, that was a good question though, because the name was something that took really long for all of us.
Yeah, it took a long time to find a name that felt right, that we could all agree with. We went through so many different crazy ones.
And that wasn't copyrighted.
That wasn't copyrighted. That's a big thing. Yeah. So creative ethos kind of gets into what we're all about. So creating a golden era shooter, right? So the golden era, we're not talking about like the golden era of gaming, but the golden era of FPS. This was an era that like so many different games benefited from. The way the industry just functioned back then at building community, and the way they presented their games and focused more on the presentation of their game than the functionality, versus just like, let's just focus on graphics, let's just focus on selling stuff, The player retention was also incredibly consistent for a lot of games, the likes of which we haven't seen perform that well since, So the golden era is very important to a lot of us, whether we played Battlefield, Call of Duty, Halo, Killzone, whatever, right? That era stands out, So we that was the goal. So identify the essence of what made that era what it was and apply it to a modern game.
So hence Echo, because we're calling back to that time.
Yeah. So we're going back, at least in spirit, to put our finger on it. That's the biggest problem, because people will say, oh, it just felt better. And if you can't put your finger on it, people are so easy to dismiss you that it's nostalgia this, nostalgia that. But we looked at the data, and the data really does show that there was a performative difference in that time compared to today. And so there is something there to, dig into. So that's what we did.
Yeah,
we dug into it.
I think that could actually kind of bounce off the player numbers for these clients and how many people are backing them. You see projects as huge as Plutonium, the Alterware project, HMW is doing fantastic. Granted, there's not really anybody playing it as of now until other updates gets pushed out, but there's huge player numbers, and I think there's that core audience that really does think. And I think people within my audience are going to be like, well, older games are just better. I think it's just kind of undeniable. Modern games do kind of build upon it, but there's still something always missing from those newer titles.
Right. And one of the big things that confirms that it's not just nostalgia for me is that I've been playing shooters since the very first Medal of Honor on the PS1.
Yeah, that's
a long time. Online. Yeah, I was playing online as early as like 2002. I played a whole bunch of different games at that time, and then I got to play the era of 2006 to 2013, and then I've played everything since then. The one in the middle is the one that really sticks out the most. There was just something so special about it. So having played all three eras of gaming, essentially, minus the Diamond era, that one stands out the most. They just had so many things right, but then it became about like money, and investors took control and all that stuff. That's a whole other conversation.
Every game had a soul too.
Yeah, had a soul, and they really just let the creativity flow for what was best for the game instead of prioritizing things that had nothing to do with gameplay. Prioritization. So this is the next thing. This kind of has to do with like balance and quality control.
Yeah, it was just kind of the first series of broad, big words we wanted to put to the forefront that came to our heads when we were pre-planning and all that.
The cream of the crop approach with the gameplay experience, balance, and overall fun. We don't. One of the big problems in modern games is they add so many different things, thinking that more is more, when sometimes less is more, to the point where like a game just feels like work. Everything is clutter. Everything's a mess that you have to dig through just to try to play the game, and it's not enjoyable. And
Yeah.
then when people start hating
real
on the
quick to
game,
cut you off.
yeah.
One example that I've always mentioned was, I know there's going to be people that disagree with this. I've mentioned this in a previous video as well. One good example, I think, at least in my opinion, is the gunsmith from Modern Warfare 2019, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3. It's just too much attachments, too many combinations to try to nerf a weapon. So they end up nerfing a weapon into the ground and it does nothing. Or sometimes it's such harsh of a nerf that it just destroys the gun balance either way. That's why I think Pick 10 is that better system.
Yeah, and part of that is also just the less amount of junk and models and weapons that you're never going to use, and then the cycle of adding new weapons after you already have too many in the game and needing to nerf them so that the next ones that they release stand out so they can make money off of them. It's just it's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you brought up Modern Warfare 2019. So I got to go to LA in 2019. I got flown out by Joe Lemsley, who was the art director at Infinity Ward. And
cool.
so I got to go out there and play the game, meet a bunch of YouTubers, which was great. I grew up watching these guys. But when we got done playing the game for the first time and we got back to the hotel and we're just chilling in the lobby, we were all talking. And Gunsmith was one of those things where it was like, it's worth trying, but we don't know if it's really going to work, right? And we hope that if it doesn't work, they'll get rid of it. But it became this thing where like...
they were just profiting off it.
They were profiting off of it because creating a system with a bunch of attachments, you make all these different weapon bundles or whatever to make money off of. And it just created more opportunity for that. All these different customizations, weapons kits, right? Stuff like that. And that's what they prioritized. They didn't prioritize this feature because of gameplay. They prioritized this feature over profitability. And when people complained about it, the investors, I guess, didn't want to get rid of it. So they were like, you know what? Maybe the problem is it's just not big enough. So they keep adding more and more. And you're absolutely right. There is a limit to how many weapons you can have in a game where everything can be kind of different from one another and still be balanced. And when you go beyond that number, you have to nerf weapons into obscurity, right? Or you end up with a bunch of duplicate weapons on a gradient where they feel the same as one another. No weapon stands out next to another weapon. It all becomes very vague and forgettable. Identify, foster, and nurture the community is like our other major goal. And there's a couple ways we aim to achieve that goal. And one is aesthetic preservation. So if we present a world that we've worked super hard on to the fans and they love it, they fall in love with it, we would be a dick to abandon that world,
Yeah.
To just throw it in the trash. If they love
everything.
it, they want to. Yeah. So if they fall in love with that world and they love it, it would be a slap in the face if we were to abandon that. We do have a story. We have a story written out. We have a world and a setting and these events. And we're obviously releasing a multiplayer, not a campaign, but we want to put Easter eggs in the multiplayer for people to work together to figure out what happened. What's the story here? Yeah. And that helps really foster community because it gets people talking and interacting and pondering, keeps their mind on the game, and when you get people's imaginations going, that's a whole other fun factor that's like outside of the game that you just created. So yeah, this is kind of like the slice of what we're shooting for.
Yeah. So since there's a story being built, will that mean there's a single player, or is it going to work similar to, I guess, something like Black Ops 4, where it was the multiplayer, but there was like little tidbits of information to help build a story?
Well, we're not going to do cutscenes, anything like that. If we're going to add anything story-wise, it would be playable content. If we're going to add anything story-wise to play, we're not going to just like, here's a cutscene where we have actors doing this, that, and the other. We don't want to do that. If we're going to add anything story-wise, it's always going to be playable content, whether it's multiplayer or maybe some single-player approach in the future. But for right now, it's just multiplayer, Easter eggs for people to figure out, and piece, things together. And if we want to, right, if we want to speed things up, right, or throw a monkey wrench in there, on our socials, we would probably, throw some clues out there to mess with people, to stay interactive with the community. But yeah, that's essentially how we're going about it. But we don't want to do cutscenes.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure with having to build a multiplayer, because usually people will buy something because it has a single player. And I think if there's extra focus on really building this multiplayer out, making sure everything runs really smoothly and to a point where it's really impressive for an indie title, I think this could grow huge. I mean, I've seen a lot of other people within the Discord server, big names backing this. You have Watchful Wolf in there. I've seen Bob Network. Eden FPS is in there. A few people that I know. I've seen other developers. I mean, there's some huge names backing this, even myself.
We've got some other names, some people who work on games that we grew up playing that are aware of our project and are rooting us on.
Yeah, we're very
which
proud of
is
the support
nice.
we've all gotten so far.
Yeah.
It looks great so far. Graphics, textures, great.
Our team is amazing.
The music, I love the music. It's really reminiscent. I think I said in the server before, it's really reminiscent of something like Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, so music-wise, we were all really we could all agree that we liked atmospheric stuff from certain Battlefield games, but also like Modern Warfare 2 2009 and Black Ops 2, really good soundtrack. It's like, can we do something that feels that way, and create our own thing? Like, have a starting point of like references, but create our own thing, see what we do. And the guy that we hired on, XG, he does amazing work.
He knocked it out of the park with that.
Yeah, he's doing great.
He's so incredible. But yeah, I can do a little slide showing our team. This is it. Yeah, our team.
5'7".
Hey, we're not going to say anything. We're going to let you look.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm seeing like them 16 gloves are probably like a perk or something.
Yeah, our guys are really putting in so much work, so incredibly. The animations,
CSR.
the modeling.
Yeah, it's like I would say this is on par
talented
with SM2's modeling. And a lot of people love their modeling and their animations.
A lot of us on the team were pretty inspired by SM2, so that's a big compliment.
Yeah, that's something that I noticed when I first taken a look at this, when I was invited to the server. It really had huge Modern Warfare 2019 kind of MW3 2023 vibes with it as well, but still has like that old school feel to it.
Yeah, and that's something that's really important to us, is that old school vibe still being there while also making a modern game. Like the blueprints are already out there from the fans. It's just nobody's fucking listening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're trying to just play catch up with a decade worth of feedback from the fans.
I know there's going to be some people listening that are kind of worried about that, because it's, how do you play catch up with decades of information and feedback? And that's a lot of work to be considering as like a small team developing this.
That it is. When they brought me on, you had all this talent creating all these different things, but they were like, we need structure, and I was like, I think it's possible, but let's create that structure. Let's create the blueprint. Let's create the blueprint of the house that we're going to build, so that people know what they're building and they can just put their nose to the grindstone and go, And that was a huge help, being able to do that with these guys, and everybody working together and supporting each other and putting in the recommendations. We flew through that process of building out the framework first and foremost. But that's crucial for a project this ambitious, for sure.
I think what's interesting about this whole experience in our team is that I think everybody that's been working on this game has really come in with one big name on their back that they have the most experience and passion for, and then they bring those ideas to the table, and that's what we've really been liking to see. But all of us could list off so many inspirations that we've had from different genres you probably wouldn't even expect in gaming.
Right. We got people from the golden era of Halo, the golden era of Battlefield, the golden era of Killzone, Call of Duty, whatever. But I would say the guy who started this project, he came off of the heels of like SM2 being shut down. When SM2 got shut down, I think X Labs also got shut down. You know, it was fans coming together trying to create that golden era feel again. And it was a passion project. And the big company felt threatened and they shut it down. They sent an email basically saying that they were afraid this would interfere or have an effect on game sales later in the year because they acquired 40,000 fans via word of mouth. Like they didn't do any marketing campaigns and they acquired 40,000, which is insane.
Yeah, and then over the course of development, you've seen other projects getting shut down too. Thankfully not Plutonium, but
Thank God. Yeah.
So some of these other big mod projects, and those really have, kind of kept us going in part of the way because we want to really pioneer something that the fans can make that won't be interfered by.
Yeah, if people had the time to make the game that they wanted from scratch, like, they would try to do it. And that's what we're trying to do, right? But it was just the quickest and easiest way to do it was to spend a couple of years making a mod that homogenized that era from very different, all those different games and put them in one place. And it's because people don't just want one particular game. They want the essence of that era. That's what they really want. And it keeps getting shut down. So during this time, I had sent this kind of document that me and a couple of the people had worked on to a Call of Duty dev that I knew. And he sent it to some other people. But after reading it, it was very, very in-depth. He encouraged me. He was like, you need to go make your game. Like, stop worrying about, games that are currently out doing their thing. Like, you need to go make your game. Get with people in the modding community. And he gave me encouragement of games that started out as mods and became successful. And I didn't really believe that I could do that, but I took his advice and started looking at different teams. And each team was like, oh, I can't trust this team. These guys don't have it together. There's a lot of indie teams that I'm not going to name that really don't have their shit together. We in our atmosphere, we wanted to basically say hey, we're all voting on these things. You have a 1 in 10 chance, because we had 10 guys initially. You have a 1 in 10 chance of your idea getting through, but you're going to have the opportunity to vote for somebody else's choice to say, if my choice doesn't make it, I hope theirs does. And that process, it solves so many issues. You still have people bickering here or there, but it avoids 90% of the headache. Honestly.
It helped a lot in unifying our team, team's vision, which
Absolutely.
was critical early on. So,
so yeah, I got the recommendation. I didn't like the teams that I was seeing. I was about to give up. I ran across Starek, talked to him. We had a little interview. He pulled me onto the team, told me what he needed, and then I got to meet everybody else. And I was like, yo, these guys work so well with each other. These guys know how to talk to each other. They're good at listening. They're good at collaborating on some team-based meetings. And I was like, I can do this. I can work with this. And we just got started. For a studio that's starting from the very bottom and making everything pretty much from scratch and Unreal, right? We've come pretty freaking far, to be honest. I looked at other projects that have been around longer than us, and they haven't even built out most of their set list of weapons. They still can't agree on their direction, and it's been 2 or 3 years. And they've given up on building all their own stuff, so they're outsourcing and just buying things off of CG Trader and stuff, So for us building everything ourselves, our first year is going to look really, really good in comparison. Our team is so fast and efficient. It's incredible. This may be changing the subject kind of sharply, but so for instance, we want people to be able to peacock and show off their skills,
Yeah.
Show off what they've earned, but also have fun things that you can earn. So challenges that are kind of, let's say, goofy. where you get this funny banner or calling card, whatever you want to call it, and people are like, how did you get that? What did you do to get that? Right? We never want the answer to that question to be, oh, I spent money, bro.
Absolutely
We don't want
not.
that. We want the answer to be, I did something in the game, let me show you, or you can try this, and encourage people to play the game to get it, right? That was an essence of older games that just isn't there anymore because people just buy stuff. But yeah, like challenge orientation to the fans has been abandoned for just spend money and get things. We don't want to do that. Like if there's going to be things in our game for you to earn, but you're going to earn them. You're going to play the game to get them. You're not just going to be able to pull out a credit card. If we're going to add anything that we're going to charge you money for, it's going to be playable content. We don't want you to spend money on just like things that you could earn with challenges in the game, right? Like you want to support us, we're going to expand playable content if you really want to financially support us. We think it needs to get back to that. But back to challenges, I can show just a little glimpse of so these are, we have icons, we have banners. These are all ours, custom, drawn out. And some of them are very meme oriented. There's some jokes that only certain people will get. This is obviously geared towards, an older audience. But we just want to bring that back where everybody can focus on doing challenges and earning things and then telling their friends how they did it.
Emblems and calling cards are very similar to Modern Warfare 2. I see it's very Modern Warfare 2 inspired, but kind of off of things that you would be able to do within game. Yeah, I think that's a great idea to be able to have everybody just be able to unlock something instead of pull out a credit card and get an item they like. But I don't know if this is probably something that went through with the group, and maybe some people might disagree with this. Well, I don't know. We'll have to see when the video is done, but I think you can manage to make supply drops work as long as you create this ecosystem that gets you credits to be able to pay for them completely for free.
So there is kind of something like that, like in-game currency that's not like actual real-world currency that you can earn. There is stuff like that that's going to be there, where instead of doing a challenge, you earn a currency. And we're not going to do like any type of in-game gambling, but it will be, there are certain items that you have to build up your in-game currency to get access to. And that is a cool, like that is an important thing to have in a game. Great variation to have challenges as well as currency-based unlocks. But you're right that it needs to be in-game currency and not real-world currency. I think a great example would be, Black Ops 1, staying on the Call of Duty train. Black Ops 1...
They had the original COD points where you would be able to hop into a wager match and be able to gamble those COD points, and if you won, you would get double the amount, pretty much.
Yeah, that's probably as far as gambling for us would go in our game. But yeah, and then it was deepened with every factor of customization, how you build your loadouts and whatever you unlock, stuff like that, all purely in-game stuff.
Yep. Yeah, purely in-game stuff is 100% correct. So we want to tell fans like, hey, if you're into cosmetics, right? If you like peacocking, showing some things off, you can do that in the game, but you're going to earn it. You're going to do the challenges that unlock it. And if you're expecting cosmetics to break aesthetic, this isn't the game for you. Being honest, if you're expecting cosmetics that are going to break the in-game aesthetic, this is not your game. And you can go play something else, and we respect you all the same. That's why we have multiple games out in the world, so to meet people's needs. We're meeting a different demographic. We're not going to appeal to, something outside of our core group. You know what I mean?
So we'll let you customize. We'll let you make your guy or your gun the way you want it to, but it will never take away from the bigger picture.
And I'll go ahead and pull this up so we can take a look.
Rangers, Marines, Cavalry, or something.
So we have each of these groups are, fictional groups within our story that we created. So we have a Ranger faction, we have a Marine faction, and then we have a private military faction, Odin Corps. This is a purely like private military group that's been around, as far as our story is concerned, been around for like 30 years, something like that, 30, 40 years. And the story kind of goes into their origins of where they came from. And then we have the Eastern factions. So let that play and get to there. Yeah, these are all groups that we made for the game. So one is the New Soviet Republic, and they are separatists. And you have to find out who they are, why they are, and why they're in the places that they're in, right? Then you have the bottom one is the Najad Legion, and they're more of a nomadic Mediterranean group, and they support us. They want to protect their land from all types of invaders. Their name literally means the helpers. And that's kind of their background, right? And then you have Al-Kosafi, which is the top right one. And this is a militia of disillusioned Iraqis who created their militia at the fall of Iraq at the beginning of the GWAT. So they all have their own aesthetic based on their story and their roots, and more context of what are they doing in this fight? What is their place? What is their purpose? What is the story connecting them to all these other factors, all these other factions that they're fighting against? So, it's nice to have the story already built before you get in there, because it's like, man, we get to come across so many creative ways to leave clues and Easter eggs for fans to piece this together.
So this will be like near futuristic, like how the original Modern Warfare 2 was, MW3, BO2.
Oh, no.
No, it's more alternate history.
The era that we chose was late 2000s. So between 2009 and 2012.
Okay, yeah, that area is going to be interesting because it doesn't get talked about much. I mean, the only game I could really think of that really covers like that sort of area is MW2, COD Ghosts, MW3, 6 Days in Fallujah.
Right. So this era is I don't know if you've ever read The Watchmen, right? But The Watchmen
Sounds familiar.
It's a graphic novel, and it is bombastic comic book superhero revisionist history, right? So it's a superhero thing, but it's like, what if this crazy thing called superheroes happened in real life back in the day, and they go through like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they go through like geopolitics and stuff like that, how it would have been affected. And it gets really serious and really interesting really quickly. So I like that concept of just like alternate history, right? Quentin Tarantino does a great job with it in his films. Like, what if we, blew up a movie theater and blew a bunch of holes in Hitler and called it a day?
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 3 was another good example, taking a lot of historical figures and this whole event of the JFK assassination and the events that came after that, and making a stealth mission out of it, things like that. Or even old Call of Duty had real world elements in it, like Black Ops 2 had, Noriega and the whole uprising with the MPLA. We want to involve real world stuff, just like some of our inspirations.
So late 2000s, that era, the geopolitics involved, the standings of the world, the narratives that were being perpetuated at the time, whether true or false, all of that kind of comes into play with the story. And then something happens that turns everything upside down, as it were. And you got to figure out what that is and why that is and who's all involved. And it's a story, I can't get into it. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil anything for the fans, but it's a story that's really unlike anything else. It's really intense. So, yeah, we put a lot of thought into our factions and the atmosphere we're creating in our game, for sure.
Yeah, and I like how you guys went for this alternate timeline, because you're not able to write yourself in a corner. You just keep making up things as you go, and it's always going to be something fresh. as you keep building this game.
Oh, right. Absolutely. Yeah. If we want to continue the story thereafter, I technically have already started writing that, but I stopped to focus on fleshing out the main story. If people just wanted it to be self-contained beginning and end, we've got that. We've already got it.
And if not,
so-
it's ours. We can toy around with it.
Exactly. The other thing is like the map locations.
Probably all Middle Eastern.
So some yes, and then others are going to be in the United States. That's a little clue to some things that happen in the story. There are going to be some Easter eggs that are more or less like red herrings to kind of throw people off, To the avid fan, we think it'll be obvious that it's a red herring. So to our hardcore fan base, they'll be able to kind of tell. Other people will be bickering back and forth, Just throw a couple of monkey wrenches in there. But this comes down to, things you find in the map locations in general. Some of them will be red herrings and the other ones will be very, prudent to the story. That's what's so great. We can all just really dive in and we're going to nurture the shit out of it. It's great. It's awesome. But as far as maps go, the locations and the ideas, hearing people's feedback, I do a lot of the blockouts and level design. I work with our level design lead and he helps me. And then I do different blockouts and we can go ahead and look at some of these.
Yeah, and
some really early stuff.
it kind of looks like Crash almost.
And then we've got this one. This is a mall.
That kind of looks like the TV station from Verdansk.
Yeah.
This is weird. This looks like Scrapyard and something else.
This more inside the mall.
This is interesting.
Yeah, so we've got a few maps going for us. Those were just a couple, and some of that was really early stuff. There's probably one more map that you guys have probably seen in some of the footage where we're showing off the tomahawk animations.
Yeah, I was going to mention the shipment looking one with the honey badger and the intervention.
The shipment one is we have a few test sites where we test certain graphics, we test certain lighting, and stuff like that. And that one was just kind of like one of the easier ones to test on. It's not really designed to have any crazy flow. It's more like it provides the environments for us to test certain things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just a test map, not a thing that's going to probably come out.
Right. Yeah. Just want to make that clear so that people aren't confused later on. The testing we do has only gotten better and better and better and getting more and more refined. And now it's getting even more refined since the last time you saw it because we have somebody coming in. I'm not going to say their name, but another high-level dev at another massive company that's interested in kind of giving pointers, talking to our level design guy. And tons of great feedback and education there that's being implemented. So yeah, it is a great place, but yeah, functionality wise, I don't know how good of a flow it would actually have, but we could easily, if the fans wanted it bad enough, we could design a map with flow based off of that aesthetic if they like it, we'd be down to listen to any and all suggestions as far as that's concerned. One thing we haven't touched on, though, is streaks, which we are calling commissions. This is the aesthetic of the icons, more or less,
K9s,
for our streaks.
Drones.
So we're only going to show 3 icons.
UAV, it looks like, as well.
Something like that. So we really wanted to nail the aesthetic, and we wanted to provide something that when you earn it is constantly moving at the corner of your screen so that it catches your eye.
Mind. Yeah,
it's always there, because sometimes in a lot of modern games you earn something, and it's not just Call of Duty, it's other games too. You earn something and the notification is just bland. It's translucent, it's stagnant, it's really tiny at the corner of your screen, and you're like, when the fuck did I earn that?
Yeah, I get the same thing all these newer Call of Duty titles. Battlefield 6 has like the upgrade thing, and sometimes I just don't even notice that I even earned it. So yeah, that's definitely a good thing to have, where it's just something moving, but it's not so much to where it distracts you from the gameplay.
Absolutely. But we want it burning a hole in your pocket, you know?
We want it
We
to
want
annoy
you-
you while you're playing because we're proud of them,
So-
and you're going to use it because you earned it.
Yeah, exactly. Use that shit right now, dude, you know? And because back in the day when you'd get one and it was moving and you could kind of see it at the corner of your eye and you knew it was there, you could play the game, but you had that burning a hole in your pocket, man. And it made the adrenaline shoot up just a little bit more, you know, like, oh, I want to use this. How am I going to use this? And, you know, that was just a small little, you know, part of the experience that we kind of want to bring back in modern games. So, yeah, we got these, you know, moving icons for each one. We have several streaks. We obviously have an aesthetic, more or less, that we're going for the fans. And then we also have abilities and like pro abilities as well that you can earn. I'm going to go ahead and show this. Hopefully I don't get in trouble. This is kind of like a last minute thing we're fixing around. But these are our ability lists. These are just the icons for it, our aesthetic for it.
You can make out what some of these are.
Yeah, you could probably make out what some of those are, for sure. But I'll show a little glimpse of that. Generally, what you're seeing here in our logo and all these other things, you're getting a vibe of what the aesthetic is going to be for like the user interface and everything like that. And we stumbled all over the place trying to figure out what we wanted. And we looked back in time at various media that was coming out in the late 2000s, various games, action movies, you know, everything. And we really were just throwing hats in the ring, stumbling around, making graphic designs of this, that, and the other. And we're really happy where we kind of stumbled into. We just kept going until we found something that really felt right. And we hope it feels right to the fans too. We hope that they like the aesthetic. I think pretty sure this is good to go. Camos. Okay. We talked about customization. Yeah. Okay. You want to talk about a team that's putting in work. This is really, really early stuff, and it still looks amazing. It's going to be refined even more. But we want the camos to be fun to earn and actually matter. And if you're going to have that's anything so crazy that it kind of goes outside the bounds of the aesthetic, you better have worked really hard to get it. That's the main goal. We've designed many of our own camos and come up with some pretty cool ones that we think people are going to like. So let's just go ahead and show some of our work.
I like that green.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Siberia or whatever, Red Tiger. Kind of like a gold-plated thing going on here. Oh, this is cool. Cherry Fizz kind of thing.
So that's just a few. We've got some more, but I wanted to be able to show that. So yeah, there are some really cool ones in there. We don't want them to be like too incredibly distracting to the third person, but we want them to at least be noticeable enough when you're in a firefight. If you die to somebody, you watch the kill cam, you see what they got, and you're like, oh damn, you know?
Yeah. It's always something I kind of feel like what is missing when playing a modern Call of Duty title. Mastery camos don't feel like they're special. They kind of feel like a second-hand thing that you just put on the weapon.
Right. Again, if you're going to spend any money on our game, like extracurricular funds past our game's launch, it's not going to be for cosmetics. It'll be like, hey, we are expanding the playable content. Support us.
I'll definitely be supporting it. Just because it's definitely for a good cause. And I don't know, there's just not much that games do now where I'm really spending money. I spent my money elsewhere. Like recently I started playing electric guitar because I find more value out of that than paying maybe $20 for a DLC for a game. Well, the game would have to have controller support as well.
The majority of people who played back in the day were generally playing on controller.
Mhm.
And a portion of the ones playing on PC were going through the effort of getting their Steam to work with their controller, which
Yep.
I know that how hard that was back in the day. So that really ties into a lot of these fans and a lot of PC players today, even though PC is like 50%, I think now. And then you have the two consoles, 25 and 25. Even today, a lot of people on PC are playing with controller. So we have to include that.
Just given our inspirations, we're expecting controller players, so we'll make an effort for them.
Mm-hmm.
Will the game support haptic triggers? I would assume not, because it's fairly annoying.
Yeah, everything's going to be more, the controls and everything we want to be straightforward and simplified.
Yeah, and universal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about other techniques of modern technology? So stuff like FSR, DLSS, xeSS, or NVIDIA Reflex.
Well, those have always been big topics of conversation. A lot of the different GPU settings that we could offer, but once again, it's about a universal experience we're trying to offer. So one player's experience versus another, then we might allow it to depend when we get to it.
We want the game to run well on everybody's, setup, whether it's console or PC. Maybe they don't have enough money for a grand PC, So if we can make it run as efficiently as possible, we don't want to be able to see like every little microscopic. I don't want to see the granular texture on the blackhead on your face. We don't need to see that much detail. We need it to look good, as you can see, right? You've seen some of the footage and stuff. Like that's what we're pushing. We don't need to go really far beyond that, and then we can add lighting and stuff to make it look good. The settings in the game, we don't want you to dig through hundreds and hundreds of tabs of settings like you see in modern games. People also waste time doing that. YouTube videos back in the day used to be people creating classes in a game and running strategy with their friends. Now YouTube is filled with videos of people going into 100+ tabs of settings and adjusting this and adjusting that.
This is the best
and
setting. These are the best
And the
fine
videos will end up
tunings.
being
I
like
think
10, 20 minutes long when it realistically only takes 5 minutes.
Half the time it's not even to really play the game how it was intended. It was finding exploits via the settings. So what we're going to do is basically say, we're going to handle all the nitty gritty settings for you because we're the devs. We're going to give you basic settings to work with to make your experience, a little bit more comfortable to you. But we're not going to let you go freaking ham and change it into a completely different experience than everybody else. We're presenting an experience. You adapt to it. You play our game. We're not playing yours.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mentality I think that's missing from a lot of games now. And it creates a really inconsistent, unrelatable experience for every single individual player. And then people just find a bunch of exploits and it becomes about, more about shifting all these dials than anything else. And that is...
we want accessibility, but we're not going to confuse it with changing the experience. So.
With accessibility, how about being able to change colors for teams and certain objectives? So let's say, because usually this is what I do if I have the option, I make enemies yellow, I make my own dot on the map purple, while my teammates will be sky blue.
Yeah, I admit I do that stuff too in Call of Duty, have my own colors for different things like enemies and friendlies and people in my squad and stuff like that. But once again, that one we're kind of leaning away from, I think, but it hasn't been something that we've talked about so much just yet.
I think the most we've talked about is a colorblind option, to be honest.
Yeah,
that's
probably have
definitely
colorblind
needed.
options, but as far as those kind of customizations, I mean, even 10 years ago, you'd had something like Siege where if you were on defense, you were blue, or you were orange, and you were on blue if you were attack, and that's it. And people just did that, and they accepted that.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily care about letting people customize that stuff.
Like, we get it, but it's not a priority. Like, one of the big things is making things simplified, straightforward, and a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
And how fast can we get you into that experience? We don't want you to spend 10 minutes in a menu. So we want you to be able to flip through your settings very quickly and then hop out and go straight into playing the game.
And
So
there's
if
a
it's
sort of
not
community
super
understanding
necessary,
that comes with that stuff too. Like look at
Yeah.
Counter-Strike, some of those maps have been there for 30 years and everybody has the same
Mhm.
nickname for the same spots on the same maps that have been there the whole time. And if we're going to come up with some of that same stuff that helps unify what the community is saying and coming up with, then yeah, we'll do it.
yeah, that's a great example of why overall continuity for the player's experience is important. It really helps solidify what he just pointed out, what the community makes of the game. So yeah, if something's not too big of a priority or super necessary, and it's just going to take up space on the settings menu screen, then we don't want to do it. We want to try to keep the menu screen as just one, at most 2 screens. We don't want 40 tabs, 40 screens with hundreds of tabs, like you see in a lot of games now.
You also mentioned console before. Is the goal to get the game on console?
That
I mean,
is
we'd
the
definitely
goal.
love to have console players, but right now, as long as we get the Steam release well optimized and running and up and finished, then that's definitely the priority.
You know what that means. Everybody watching the video, you gotta go support this if you want to see it on console.
The goal is to put it out there, get it recognized, and hopefully we get approached by the right people and we can work something out.
Not to name any names, but if you guys do support us that much and we have to take drastic measures to get on console, like censorship of some kind, we wouldn't do that to mess with you guys, because I'd hate to throw away all the support you've given us.
Yeah,
Right.
something like Ready or Not has just went through that. They had to
Hey, you
censor
said
a
it, not
game
me.
a bit just to be able to put it on console.
That's so wild. Yeah, we don't want to do any of that. This is also a controversial subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but it is important. Anti-cheat, right? We're working with we got some
Anti-cheat
connections.
sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, and we're working with people that have worked on pretty successful projects with that stuff. Our level design guy has those connections, and we're talking. But the big thing for us is making sure that everything in our game is organized so that when we dig through it, if there's something being exploited, we can go in and fix it. When a game is too big and the coding is just such a mess, nobody wants to dig through it. You're not going to be able to find all the back doors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one of the benefits of keeping the game a little bit more simplistic, is helping out with that. But usually, if hacking does occur, it generally occurs on PC first. That's
Yeah,
just
like
the
think
nature
about
of it.
even cheats back in the day. It was always, oh, your neighbor had his laptop and he hooked it up to his PS3 with the cheats installed,
Right.
and that's how he got him in. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we want to be able to quarantine if necessary. Just because one group is, hurting their platform doesn't mean that you should feel the effects of it if you're on a different platform. The really big thing with
That's fair.
cheaters is the free to play era.
Yeah, true.
Really cause it to explode, and it gives people so much time and room and flexibility to hone in their craft. Unfortunately, our game is going to cost money. People are going to have to buy our game when it gets its full release. That has its own help, but also we want to do servers as well as like peer-to-peer. If we can make a hybrid of the two, just have the option, especially if you want to do private games with your friends. One of
Yeah.
those reasons is because let's say we move on and we can't afford, let's say like 10 years down the road, we move on and we can't afford to, keep supporting this game because we've moved on to other sequels, right? The fans who love this game will want to go back and play it with their friends. And if you don't have peer-to-peer in that game, there's no way for them to fricking do that. And, that's awful for those fans. That's kind of disrespectful to those fans, that they're just disposable and see the game as disposable. If they love it, we want the fans to be able to preserve it as long as they want to,
And some of the stuff that you brought up too about the decision making, like the cost between, do we value privacy in our players and everything like that? And obviously we do. So that's been a big discussion since pre-planning about, oh shoot, what are we going to do to keep cheaters out? And obviously the way we set up our servers is going to help, and less, the way crossplay, the compromises we're going to make there. And it's been a lot of big discussions about the avenues we could take. Like kernels on one of them, developing AI anti-cheat that you've seen in there's this game that was basically a Tarkov-like and an extraction shooter that really got into
Arena Breakout.
No, it was it's more fantasy. I forgot the name of it. Point is they used it, and there was a good documentary from basically Homeless that talked about AI anti-cheat and how it was developing with certain companies. So that was definitely an option we're thinking of. There's just been a lot of discussion about it. No, it's an older one.
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, like there's a whole new frontier, as he mentioned, with AI. Something we're going to have to look into and try to understand as far as anti-cheat security goes that previous generations of game developers and indie developers didn't really have on the table to fuck around with. So there's definitely frontiers as far as that's concerned, but we have talked a lot about this subject and we've learned a lot. And
something we're still going to have to keep talking about because it's definitely a huge priority for us.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered, everything that we can technically talk about and then some, which is, not a bad thing. It was dope.
Yeah.
I think we'll nightcap it here, and then when we have more stuff to show, we'll make the sequel. This is to be continued.
We'll keep in touch, yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely go do this again. I'm happy to always make a follow-up.
Yeah, thanks for all the questions.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, dude, for real.
Yeah, and especially with you guys watching the video, if you want to support the project, make sure to down in the description, there's going to be links for their social media and especially their Discord server. Definitely make sure to join up their Discord server, as that's where you're going to get all the updates for Echo.